All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk Podcast. Today we got a special treat. I got Nelson Cantù in the house. This is the second time on with us. How's it going, Nelson? How you doing?
It's going good, man. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
No worries, man. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know him, he is a realtor here locally in Bakersfield. Top 5 performers at Performance Realtors. Been in the game for what, about 6-7 years?
Coming up on 6, yeah.
Coming up on 6.
It's crazy how fast time has flown by, dude.
Right?
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about your upcoming, bro. Let's talk about what brought you into real estate, how your childhood was as a young adult, more than anything. Talk about how, I doubt you graduated high school and became a realtor. So let's talk about why you became an entrepreneur and the struggles. You know what? Because everyone sees the nice picture of what you drive, the schedule. Right. You know that everyone sees the nice stuff, but we all know it ain't all pretty nice colors. So let's get into that. More than anything, I want to focus big time on trying to get young people to see the benefit of becoming your own boss, as you would say. Yeah. But also how it can be the best and worst thing that can ever happen to you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure, man. So just a few thoughts right off the top of my mind. I remember being about 13, 14 and, us coming from a small town, and I'm sure you kind of went through this, something similar, but I remember being like 13, 14, and every time we had like a summer break or a winter break from school, we would either choose or some of our parents made us go work in the fields, right? So we picked grapes. I'm sure you probably did the same thing, or no, I don't know. But I remember thinking to myself how much I hated doing it, right? But at the time, it was kind of something that, in a sense, it was a little kind of like forced upon me. But I'm glad that it was, because I something that I learned from that was, more importantly, the value of a dollar, but the value of hard work as well, right? But I knew what I didn't want to do for the rest of my life, right? I knew that it was a lot of hard work for very little return. So I think a lot of the lessons that I learned from even doing that as a young adult have kind of helped me, and they've kind of sat there in my subconscious mind, and have kind of helped, kind of in a sense, drive or kind of push that drive within me to try to become something more, right? And then again, like you mentioned, so graduating straight out of high school, I knew one thing, right? And that was that I didn't want to go to college, right? I didn't want to go to college.
Now, did you work in the fields like during high school or even after?
Even after for a little bit too, yeah. But it was all during high school, and then after for a little bit too. But it was either like, I mean, you know how our parents are. I'm sure they come up from similar backgrounds. But it's like, hey, either you're gonna get to work or you're gonna go to school, yeah. Right? So a few months after I graduated high school, by default, because I didn't want to go to school, by default, my dad has been an electrician for the majority of his life. So by default, I ended up in the electrical field in oil and gas, right? So I did that. I started basically what they call out there as a parts runner. So basically just taking parts out to crews, to maybe about 3.5 years later, basically being a journeyman electrician, basically running a crew, right?
So you worked yourself up there, obviously. So
yeah.
I mean, do you know what the typical journeyman takes to become a journeyman?
Yeah, it's supposed to take at least minimum of 4 years.
Okay.
Minimum of 4 years. But because at the time we were working so many hours, it allowed me to kind of expedite the process of becoming a journeyman. But anyways, but yeah, man, sometimes I wish that I would have somehow gotten into real estate right out of high school. But I think things would have turned out a lot different for me if I had gone straight into real estate, right? Because one of the things that one of the biggest reasons why I'm glad that I did go into the electrical field right after was because it taught me discipline, right? It taught me discipline. It taught me a schedule. It taught me implementing somewhat good habits, right? As far as, getting up at a certain time and knowing that I had things or that I had to follow a certain schedule throughout the day, and I had to get certain things done. So, when some people have asked me, do you wish that you would have gone right into real estate right out of high school? And a part of me is like, yeah, I wish I would have. Maybe I would have been further along in my real estate career than I am now. But at the same time, it's like, who knows? I might have not been, because maybe all the disciplines that I carried over from working that job, maybe they might have been non-existent now.
Yeah, well, I mean, realistically, you would have probably failed.
Who knows, man?
And not to, but it's just like you're saying. I mean, you learned so much there. Wake up at 3-4 in the morning or whatever it was, And then I'm sure when you got into real estate, for the right at the beginning, you were like, hell yeah, like no more waking up early, and maybe we're even getting to the office 10. You know, I'm not saying you were.
No, yeah, and I was, you know, and it's funny that you say that because, you know, I see a lot of young people come into real estate straight out of high school, and unfortunately, like a year or two later, it's like, man, where'd they go? You know, because again, I think it's because they for one, they're very young and inexperienced, and a lot of the times they don't even know what they want to do yet, right? Maybe they're getting into if you're getting into real estate that young, it's probably because you already know somebody into real estate. Yeah. I don't know of any 17, 18, 19-year-old that gets into real estate by their own will, right? Yeah. It's usually because they already know somebody that they either have a friend or a family member that's already in the real estate industry.
Or they have a following and they see all the nice colors that I'm telling you about. You know, this guy, let's say someone in high school sees you drive what you drive, and they're like, dang, this guy has that car. Like, I want to have that car. This guy posts that he's on vacation in the middle of the week when all my friends are working hard labor jobs, you know, and so they kind of aspire to be what you are without knowing the struggles, which when we talk about it realistically, again, obviously I'm 100% sure that there's people out there that got into it right after high school with no one in the business and somehow
succeeded.
Made it. But I feel like that is just exponentially harder.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I'm sure social media plays a huge role into that nowadays, because now, you know, you can basically follow anybody and see what they do and what their lifestyle's like, what they do on a daily basis.
YouTube will teach you anything.
Yeah. So yeah, in a sense, I'm glad that you know that. And it's funny that you mentioned earlier, you know, how long I've been doing this, and it seems like my electrical career, it seemed like I did it forever. But now that you just brought it up right now, I've been in the real estate industry just as long as I was doing that, but it seems like the past 6 years have just flown by so fast. And that's, you know, one of the things that people, you know, they come into to real estate, whether it be on the mortgage side or on the sell side, and it's because, you know, they want to have the freedom, they want to have the flexible schedule, right? And yeah, those were some of the reasons why I got into it too. But man, it almost seems like I traded in my 9 to 5 for like a 8 to 8 nowadays, because dude, it seems like I work 11, 12 hours at least every day.
That's the what people say is I traded my 9 to 5 to become an entrepreneur. Now I work 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. You know, hopefully we get to the day or to the point here within the next couple of years where that's not the case. But you know, every entrepreneur that has succeeded at a very high level has said, you know, that they've had to do what they do at a very high level and put in a vast majority of time for at least 8 to 10 years before they found a place in their life and in their business where it's like, okay, maybe I can, you know, take a step back for a little bit from this business and maybe start to focus my time and energy maybe on another business that they want to pursue.
For sure. And I'm sure actually no one has the secret sauce, right? There's the secret to success, I think, is hard work. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's no real, like, if I go work for this guy, he's going to make me successful. Or if I follow this guy's footstep, he's going to make me successful. It 100% comes willingly, right?
Of course.
So that being said, moving into success, right? I mean, I can consider you a successful person. Now, you were top 5 performers at Performance Realtors for 2 years consecutively. What about 19? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it's 19, 20, 21.
Okay, cool. So
hopefully years, 22 as well.
Hopefully. 3 years in a row. I always like to say, and you actually say this a lot too when we're out playing golf, that you say even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. So it's easy to do it once. Anyone could do something once. Yeah. Doing it back to back to back to back is what's hard.
Right.
What it take to become top 5, and more importantly, what does it take to stay top 5?
I think it's a couple of things right off the top of my mind, right? Because first and foremost, you know, I see a lot of agents that unfortunately, or at least in my opinion, unfortunately, they've been doing it for 10, 15 plus years, and they still don't even have a database, right? So you got to have a database that's completely dialed in, right? So basically what a database is, for people that don't understand or that are not in our industry, it's basically a huge, basically database of everybody that you know. Every single contact, anybody that you've ever like made some kind of communication with, whether they be within your sphere of influence, a family member, maybe a past coworker, or maybe somebody that walked into one of your open houses, right? But a lot of people still don't even have that dialed in years later, right? But the importance of having that dialed in is that within that what we call CRM, and that stands for, I mean, some people have different acronyms for it, but it's like a client retention management database, right? But the importance of that is that it allows you to stay in touch with those people multiple times throughout the year, right? You can get in touch with somebody and maybe never talk to them again, but somebody else reaches out to them at the right time, and they're the ones that are going to earn the business ultimately, 100%. Right? So it's got to be strategic. You got to have a database that's completely dialed in, and more importantly, especially in today's day and age, one that's automated, right? One that's maybe texting and emailing all your leads multiple times throughout the year, so that way you're top of mind, right? That way they know, hey, Edgar Perez is still here, sending me some kind of market update once a quarter or something like that, right?
Most of them know that they're automated, but that doesn't mean it's bad, you know. I'm a huge fan of Bradley. And I was actually listening to a podcast he had. It's a pretty good one. It came out yesterday. I forgot what the dude's name is that's on there. He's one of the guys from Diesel Brothers.
Okay.
And he says that one of his morning routines, which I'm starting to implement. So if you guys received a text from me yesterday, that's why.
I didn't get one from you.
So listen. So what he said he does is he wakes up every morning and instead of getting on social media or reading a book, a lot of people say you got to read a book first or whatever. He said that the first thing he does is while he gets ready for the gym, which I'm sure he means probably using the restroom or whatever he's doing, he texts 5 people, like personal text,
like a gratitude text.
Yeah, like, hey dude, hey, what's up, Nelson? Good morning. I just want to let you know that if there's any way I can add value to your life, I'm here for you. If not, man, I hope you've been great.
Yeah.
And then I'm not even trying to sell you anything. You know, I'm just, what's up, dude? Just
letting you know I'm still here.
Right? Like I'm right here, bro. You ever need anything? I'm here for you. And I started implementing that because you don't want to be that guy. And I think I was that guy for a long time when I was getting started. And I think for agents that are getting started, it's something that we do often. There was never a real courtesy text. Like it was like, hey, what's up, bro? How you been? Good. How about yourself? Good.
Yeah.
Hey, man. So this is what I do. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Once.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you do that too many times, people are like, oh, what is
they
this
kind
guy
of dread
want?
a text from you.
What does this guy want now? You know,
For
so
sure.
when you text people this, you're doing it genuinely from your heart. Like you have to mean it, dude. If you're gonna text 5 people and you really don't mean it, don't even waste your time. Don't waste their time either.
And I think they can tell too.
Yeah.
Like even though it's a text, there's kind of like some kind of vibe that comes with it.
Yeah,
too,
100%.
You know?
Like if it's too scripted, like I actually sent it to my cousin, and I happened to run into him yesterday, and he's like, "Dude, it was a mass text." I was like, "Oh, you're tripping, dude." Like I was like, "Why didn't you reply, fucker?" And he's like, "Well, it was just a mass text." I was like, "Oh, really, dude?" Like, and he's like, "Well, you didn't put my name in there," and I was like, "Why? If I would have put, hey, X, Y, and Z." How you been? He's that's more of a mass text. That's like something automated. I literally texted you like we text on a daily.
For sure.
But it's just funny, man. And so back to the topic of what we were talking about. The database is very important, right? Because you have to own your database. A lot of people go based off of like email. They'll search a person on their email. What happens the day Gmail kicks you the hell out of their
For sure.
whatever, you know?
Yeah, so you definitely got to stay on top of it. It's not something that you just kind of like set it and forget it. And at the same time, I think what people fail to realize is that your CRM is almost like, and same thing on your end too, right? Because you're in a very similar business, but it's almost like our real estate Bible, right? Yeah. It's like, it's got to always be there and you got to be like studying it all the time. But just some of the other things, man, that I think have kind of allowed me to succeed, you know, at whatever level it's been, has been the personal development aspect of it too, right? You know, the saying says that, you know, your income or your level of success will rarely ever exceed your level of personal development. So that's why even on our team, like that's huge. It's huge. And you know, sometimes I challenge our agents like, hey, I challenge you guys to listen to this audiobook, right? Because some people don't like to read a physical book. So I'm like, hey, at least I challenge you guys to at least listen to this. And by our next meeting next week, I want you guys to give me your top 3 takeaways from this, right? And sometimes we'll have kind of like a 25 minute mastermind just on what they learned from that, right? Because I think that's far more important than talking about, you know, sometimes some real estate strategies. There's a time and place for it, but I think the personal development aspect is what's really kind of helped me take things to, you know, another level.
And I don't even think it's really what they learned from the book. It's more of the fact that they did the task.
That they did listen to it.
So reading 10 pages like Andy Frisella's 75 Hard, reading 10 pages of a book, drinking a gallon of water. It's not about what it's going to do to you. It's about mentally being strong enough to be consistent with it, right? Because consistency is key.
So exactly. So sometimes it's not so much what you learn, but the habit or the discipline that you gain from it as well. Some of the other things that, you know, off the top of my mind is, you know, I've invested a lot of time in creating systems and processes in our team, right? And you know, it's one of those things where the majority, probably 99% of agents out there, they just do things by memory, right? They you know, get a client under, or they get a new lead, finally get it under contract, and then they kind of just do everything by memory, right? So, but because we've kind of built, or I've kind of built a team around not only helping us be more efficient, but also helping us as agents focus on the top 3 tasks that we should always be focused on, which is lead generation, lead follow-up, and going on appointments, right? If you're an agent, that's really the only thing that you should be worried about. You should not be worried about any kind of like administrative work, any kind of disclosure or anything like that. That's essentially, that should be somebody else's job.
So on that topic, how hard was it for you to convince yourself that you needed an assistant?
It was tough, man. It's tough. You know, if you talk to some of the people that I'm closest to, that have kind of, you know, been on that journey with me of building a team and all that, it probably took me at least 1.5 years, probably close to 2, before I finally convinced myself to hire somebody. Because at the same time, it was like, you know, the thought that always kind of ran through my mind was like, man, like, that's a huge responsibility. Like, I'm basically taking on somebody else's livelihood on top of mine. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it took me probably about 2 years, but now if you ask me, dude, like, I probably will never operate my real estate business without an operations manager. So shout out to Jennifer.
There's only one, so much a person can do, right?
Yeah, exactly. We only have so much time in the day, right?
So if you're dedicating, I mean, realistically, people will say, well, then you work hard, dog. Working hard doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
What you have to do is work smart.
Work efficiently, yeah.
So let's say, for example, you work 7 to 7. It's 12 hours a day. You can still only get so much done in those hours.
Yeah.
Versus now, you hire someone to work those 12 hours. Now you have 24 hours in 12 hours because that person's doing half the work. You're doing half the work.
Yeah, you know, I've, not to get too far into detail, but I follow Tom Ferry, you know, quite often, right? And he's always talking about how teams are like basically the future of real estate, right? But one of the phrases that he's mentioned, like probably since, at least for the past 3 years that I've been following, or 4 years, he always talks about how one way or another, everybody in the business, in the real estate industry, we gotta trade. He calls it trading time, or what does he call it? Trading shekels for time. So basically, trading money for time, right? So in one way or another, like, we're all doing it, right? So the agents on our team, they're doing it. Me, I'm doing it, right? So we're all trading, we're all investing some kind of money to get some kind of time in return, 100%. Right? Because at the same time, I don't want to work 12 hours a day every single day for the next 30, 40 years. You know what I'm saying? I want to get to the point where hopefully I work, you know, 6 hours in a day and still produce at a higher level than I'm producing right now.
100%. And that's going to happen with systems and processes, right?
Yeah. And so that's something that we're always working on, man. And if you ask Jennifer, it's something, sometimes she probably gets a little frustrated because we're always constantly like changing or evolving our systems. But I think especially in the times that we are right now, especially with the current state of like the economy and the real estate market and how it's changing so quickly, I think we got to be changing our systems and processes up all the time, pivot. Right? You got to pivot. Yeah, you got to pivot with the market. So systems, processes, personal development, making sure that your CRM is completely dialed in, and then of course being coachable, right? I know that's something that you kind of wanted to get into as well, but being coachable is huge. Yeah. And of course the environment, right? We didn't talk about the environment. So environment is huge.
That's one of the, before I get to the next topic, sure. I want to mention that something that I heard, I forgot where, it must be from some of the podcasts or coaching that I've listened to. It was like you have to treat your business as like a basketball. And you're the basketball player, right? Mm-hmm. So have you ever noticed when, like, for example, a basketball player picks up his dribble, mm-hmm. what do all the other basketball players go do? They start trying to throw hands at it to take it away from him, right? And what do you do with it? You pivot with it. You move it up, you move it down, you pick up your leg. Exactly. So there's no real statue of this is my business, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. It's gonna change. Yeah. And when it changes, you have to change with it. You have to move the ball and not let. So mm-hmm. think about the economy, recessions, the market, competition, all of that are other basketball players trying to take the basketball from you. Yeah. Which, and don't take that wrong way. right? Because
Right.
people are gonna be like, oh, so the competition. No, I'm not. You got to work in an abundance mentality.
Yeah.
The sun comes out for everybody.
That's it.
But I
Yeah.
mean, like pivoting wise, like, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, to mention Tom Ferry, we went to the event. I'm hoping we go this year. A great event actually. But I'm assuming, are you part of his training programs, or do you have a mentor? Do you have some type of coach?
Yeah. So before we kind of jump into that real quick, you mentioned something right now that kind of just sparked something within me. And you mentioned that, you mentioned something about treating this like as a business, right? And unfortunately, I think that's something that not a lot of people do. I think maybe, man, if I say 10%, I think that's a lot, but I would say maybe 5% of real estate agents actually treat their career as a business, right? Anything from systems and processes down to the financials of it. Because most agents, they treat it kind of like, they call them hobbyists, right? They call them hobbyists, kind of like as a side hustle. That's the way that they treat it. So they really never know when their next deal is going to come from. They never know, where their money is going, right? Things of that nature. So I think it's a very important thing that if you're getting into this business, or whether you've already been in this business for 10 years, and if you're not already treating it like a business, I suggest that you start to have some kind of structure to where you're treating this as a business. But going back to like coaching and mentorship, I've had formal coaches now for the past, I think coming up on, is it 4 to 5 years already? 4 to 5 years actually.
So you got into that early in your career.
Yeah, pretty early. So I want to say, actually, I was kind of doing the math on my way over here, because I really hadn't kind of stepped back in terms of a coaching perspective and what I've invested into it. I know more or less roughly how much I invest into it a year.
My next question.
But over the past about 4 to 5 years, I've invested over 50 grand in coaching, actually. Now that I was doing the math over here and kind of just putting it all together, it's been over 50 grand of formal coaches. And I don't even think that's including like any of like the seminars and stuff that we've been to, but just formal coaching has been about over 50 grand.
But see, if people look at that number and get scared, then you're probably in the wrong business. Like,
I think any business, like you got to have some kind of coaching and mentorship.
Well, yeah, but when you work a W-2 9-to-5 job, your coach is your boss. And are they ever the greatest coaches? No.
No, man, they're going to hold your ass accountable.
Like here, you get to choose your coach.
Uh-huh.
You could literally look up to someone. Mm-hmm. Let's say you really love Tom Ferry. You sign up for his training program. Now that becomes your coach. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how many one-on-ones you get with him, but that's aside the point. What I'm trying to get at is, in the past 5 years, let's do a rough number of $10,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. $10,000 a year using, I don't know, I might be wrong, but it's like $800 a month, right? Let's just say.
Roughly, probably. Yeah.
So yeah. $800 a month. It's hard. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
right? Like it's a lot of money, especially for a new agent that's just starting off. But if you're not willing to do that, you're probably not going to grow. You
got to take that leap of faith, right? Kind of going back to the same thing about hiring our operations manager. It's the same thing. You got to take the leap of faith, right? Because most people get caught up in that. They call it analysis paralysis, right? Where you kind of think and dwell on one thing so long, but you never end up. You kind of just stay in a state of like. You're just frozen. Like you never actually do anything about it.
But you also can't go and get $800 of coaching and training, or $1,000 or $500 or $200 for that matter, and not do what your coach is telling you to do.
No, you got to do it. You got to do it, because at that point it just becomes a liability. Yeah. It's not an investment anymore. You got to make sure that you're executing on the strategies and on the things that they're coaching you on.
One of the hardest things, and I'm sure you can back me up on this, is consistency and accountability.
Yeah.
Right. So those two things, if that's what you're paying your coach to make you do, but because he's keeping you consistent and accountable, and you're making 10x what you were making before, that coach is paying for himself and some.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That's the point of that.
That's the point of it. Yeah. So that coaching or that coach or that mentor should be paid basically on its own.
Now, the reason I wanted to touch on this subject was because, again, $800 a month is a lot of money. It's
most people will say, man, dude, I'll just go buy a badass Mercedes or something.
Well, regardless of what you could do with that money. I mean, if let's say someone doesn't want to buy a Mercedes, they can buy groceries.
Yeah.
So let's say for a new agent, realistically, a lot of people don't make money their first year, right? So who has a year reserves? I don't think I can even give you a percentage.
Yeah,
out of 10, I don't even think one.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably not.
So that being said, I get it. It's hard. It's a lot of money, and it's easy to say, I'll put it on a credit card, because that's how much I want to grow. Which, on that topic, I did that, and luckily it worked out, right? But let's say you're in a situation where you can't do any of that, and you're just like, I can't afford a coach, dude.
Yeah.
That's when you join the team.
Absolutely.
Because essentially, you are a coach now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And coaches
we have formal coaching sessions.
Coaches have coaches, and coaches have coaches, and those coaches have coaches. So if Tom Ferry, because he's a pretty successful dude, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I'm sure he has multiple coaches.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. But let's just say Tom Ferry's at the top of the food chain in that aspect, right? He's not, or maybe whatever. But you get what I'm trying to say. He's the top of the food chain. He coaches 10 coaches. Those 10 coaches coach 10 coaches. And you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're still getting knowledge from him himself. You get me?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so that comes down to you. And now you're coaching your team. Eventually you want to get your team to the point where $800, I can pay that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now, hey.
And now it's coming out of the transaction. So it's not like it's an out-of-pocket
investment. Exactly. Now it's coming out of like, I'm closing this much a year. You know, I can afford the $10,000 that it's going to cost me. Hey, Nelson, what coach are you using? Can you refer me over? Let me get part of this program or whatever. And now I will almost guarantee you that if you get yourself a coach, you follow his script, his playbook, step by step, you'll 10x your income. Yeah.
There's no way around it. I mean, if these guys are, it's what they call it, tried and true principles and strategies, and they have a track record of success. I mean, as long as you follow the same blueprint or roadmap, I mean, there's no way that you can fail.
Most of these coaches, dude, they're legit people, dude. Like, even like Bradley. I can't emphasize this enough. I'm a huge fan of him, dude. Because he's a real motherfucker, dude. Like he's as legit as it gets in my perspective. And he has like training programs and stuff like that. I don't think he's an actual coach, but he has like training programs. And he's huge on that. Like, dude, like just fucking pay for it. Like it's gonna pay off.
Yeah.
But you have to do what we're telling you to do.
You gotta execute.
Like that's huge, dude. Like you can't have. It's like having a car, but you want to drive it without the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Like the car's made with the steering wheel. You have to use the steering wheel. So you have to do that, right? Same thing here. So when you join a team, you now become the team's coach.
Exactly.
Once you feel like you're ready for the next step, then you bump it up a notch, right? You go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4 to level. But I think it's huge, and it took me a little while too. But because again, honestly, like in the beginning of any career, and I want to emphasize huge on this real estate. I consider myself in the real estate industry. I'm a lender, but real estate is probably one of the most lucrative businesses, whether you're investing or whether you're an agent, right? Long run, short term, whatever you want to call it. So I really, really hope that people are like, damn, like I want to get into this, right? But if you're gonna get into it, try to do it right.
Yeah.
Because we have, well, not we, but we see it every day, man, where like agents are starting to fall off now, right? Right now, I hear about a lot of them starting to go sell cars because that's the hot shot right now. Like you go, hey, they're making $100,000 selling cars. I'm gonna go do that. Yeah. And then when that goes to shit, then hey, I still have my license. Might as well maintain it and go back. And like you said, a lot of people are using it as a hobbyist. I don't know if you would call it perspective. I don't know if you would call it a career at that point. Like they're looking at it as like, well, look, I can sell cars, tell my people about my real estate license and sell them a house here and there, which, to each their own. Everybody has their perspective on how they do things. That might work out too, but the way I've looked at it, and I have multiple sources of work, right? The way I look at it is the moment you say, I'm a full-time this and a part-time that, you're already failing. If you're gonna take on multiple streams, you better be full-time at both, or all three of them, or all four of them, because and full-time, everyone has their own perspective. It's 8 hours a day. That doesn't mean that. It means that you are accomplishing every single task that your job is
requires you to do. Yeah, yeah. So that's why, one of the at least one of my, like, when I picture our ideal agent, one of those pillars, I guess you can say, is that they must be full time. They must be full time, because I don't believe that you can accomplish anything significant while being part time. Yeah. Right. So for us, it's like, hey, you got to be full time. You got to be all in. You got to be all in, because I'm going to be honest with you, man. I really don't know of any agents that do this quote unquote part time or as a side hustle and have accomplished anything significant in this business. You got to be full time, because that's really the only way that you're really going to implement those systems, processes, and be able to look back in, say 5 years and be like, dang, like I've really created this referral based business because I've really applied myself the last 5 years.
And that's one of the huge things too, is that people think your sphere of influence is gonna make me succeed, right?
Nah, man.
Or they also think like, man, how does Nelson do it to get so many referrals? Like he must be doing something different. Dude, you're not doing anything different.
No, there's no shine. There's no.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, that there's no secret sauce. There's no secret that there's no secret that someone can come and tell you like, hey man, I know exactly what to do to get you a bunch of referrals.
Yeah.
Or all those damn ads on Instagram like you want real referrals, dude. None of that is. I mean, you're gonna get leads, but are they referrals? No. Like a referral comes from having one client that absolutely loves the service you provided to them, and now they tell a couple of their friends. So I'm sure you do the same. But when I close now, and I close on a loan, hey, how was your experience? I ask them personally. I don't just send them a survey. How was your experience with me? Like, be brutally honest with me.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, dude? I loved it. Or, hey, man, I just thought this could have been better. And that's actually good. I want to know that.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah,
and
it's
then
constructive
when
criticism.
we finished it, I'm like, all right, man, well, congratulations on your home. And do me a favor, man. My business is 100% on referrals. So if you know anybody that is in the future looking for a home or refinancing, whatever the case may be, even if they have the most random question about real estate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm here to help. And then now you send them the survey and they're like, man, this guy was cool as hell. Versus like, hey, can you fill this out?
Yeah.
Please give me
you
a 5 star.
kind of got them to think
Please
about it.
Please give me 5 stars. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So let me ask you a question. This is a big one. What's next, dude? What's next for Nelson Cantù and Associates? What are you excited for?
Yeah, man. So one of the things that I kind of forgot to mention, kind of going back to the coaching and mentoring thing, that kind of falls right into what you just asked me. But with the with coaching, right? So with coaching, I would say that the first 3 years of coaching for me was all like basically coaching for me individually, right? How can I become a better agent? How can I become more efficient? What strategies can I implement? So now, as of like the last year or so, I've kind of shifted to kind of a different coaching style. To now it's more of like team building and agent coaching, right? The agents on my team. So now it's like, hey, like me personally, I think the level of production that I've kind of gotten to, I don't know that I necessarily want to become more of a producer than that. I know I more than likely probably will, but as far as investing more time and energy on trying to become even a higher producer, I've recently kind of shifted the focus from that to, okay, now how can I like now download the skills, the disciplines, and the consistency that I've applied towards this business into other agents and hopefully give them the same opportunity that I've had the last couple of years, right? But at the same time, that requires a whole different type of coaching and kind of perspective, right? So as of like the last year or so, it's all been like me working with my coaches on like, how can I expand this? How can we grow as a team? Again, I don't necessarily, at least not at this point in my life, I don't aspire to have 50 agents, but the plan is hopefully within the next 24 months. Right now we're at including myself, 4 agents, but aside from that, I do want to get it to the point where we're like at 10 just solid agents that are all producing at a high level. You know what I'm saying? I really don't want anybody, like I told you, that's half-assing it or that's a part-timer. We want to get to about 10 agents that are producing at a high level.
And you're obviously going to help them get there. I mean, no one is born successful. Again, we'll say that multiple times. Yeah.
I guess if you're maybe like Elon Musk's kid, maybe you are born successful.
But he's not born successful. He's born rich.
Exactly.
but I mean, like realistically, it matters tremendously who your leadership is.
Absolutely.
How accountable they're going to keep you. You know, and goals. Like I was at your office yesterday, and I ran into Eric, and he was having his team meeting, and he's doing monthly like competitions now with his team.
Okay.
I thought like, dude, that's amazing. Like not only, so we talk about this a lot here in my office, and not only like these competitions will not only like make you like, hell yeah, if it's about beating you, fuck it, I'm gonna do my best to beat you.
Yeah.
Right. And not only, so let's say for example we had control, we kind of do, but you know it's a weird market right now. But let's say we had control over how many escrows we open this month, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, we kind of do, but we really don't.
Right.
And I'm at 4 or 6 or 10, whatever. Mm-hmm. and you're at 9, and then you get to 11, and now I'm at 10, and I'm like, fuck that, I'm not losing to this dude. So now I'm at 13, and you're at 15, and then we end up at 25, and you beat me still. You get 26, I get 25. You know what's the worst thing that happened there? We made a shitload of money.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that can happen there.
Not only did it increase your drive, but it increased your income as well, even though you didn't win.
So those little things, you know, if teams do that for you, hold, you know, weekly meetings, hold monthly meetings, hold this, hold that, do this, do that for your agents. Like, dude, that's priceless, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and so, you know, obviously one of the in my opinion, one of the biggest benefits as far as being a part of our team is, aside from, you know, everything else, right? You know, the administrative support, the lead flow, the systems, the processes, everything, right? Is not only that, but it's also the camaraderie, right? It's being a part of something bigger than yourself, right? So for me, it's like, hey, if we can kind of create that culture of winning, of being consistent, of being top producers, then we're only gonna be able to provide that same opportunity for other people as well. And then ultimately, the agents on my team, I want them to take that leadership role too, right? Of being a mentor to somebody.
Whenever you're on a high-performing team, we talked about this last time we were here. You create a room, right? You create a room. So if everyone there is closing 10 escrows a month, and you're at 2, that's gonna do one of 2 things to you. It's gonna make you be like, shit, I gotta be at 10, so I gotta get out there. I'm gonna start door knocking. I'm gonna start calling. I'm gonna start hitting everybody up on social media. I'm gonna start running ads. I'm gonna start doing everything because I gotta get to 10. I can't be the dude that's at 2, right? Or you're gonna be like, oh, they're just lucky. They're just lucky. They have referrals. They've been in the game forever. I'm going to somewhere else.
Scare you away.
But hey, you don't want that guy on your team anyway.
No.
Or lady, you know, lady or gentleman, you don't want them on your team. And again, not that they're not good. Maybe they'll go somewhere else and be great.
Yeah.
But they didn't fit your culture.
Yeah. Right? Maybe we just weren't a good fit for each other.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No, absolutely not.
You know, but I think you know, I hear and I've seen other agencies, other teams, other brokerages where you go, dude, and everyone's just kind of to themselves, like, you know, someone's on the phone like struggling with something, and they hang up and no one really tells them anything. They walk out, they go show whatever. And I've been around your team. I've been not only your team. I've been around performance quite a bit. And one of the things that I could vouch for is that, dude, you're never left alone there. Like, you know, like I walk in there and, you know, I'm there doing my thing and you know, someone's on the phone and like there's a guy there that he talks funny in Spanish. And he said a word once. I forgot what he said. He was on the phone talking to a lead. He hangs up the phone, and then Jose goes up to him and he's like, "Hey, bro, just for further references, like this is the proper word for that, you know." And something as simple as that, like it's help, dude. Like,
the thing is that you're constantly learning, bro. Even when you don't realize it, you're learning something new. So it's all part of being a part of a winning culture, making sure that you're being held accountable to your goals, right? Because ultimately, I can't set goals for you. No. You got to set your own goals. Am I gonna challenge you? If I'm like, hey, dude, I think like, you know, those are like super subpar goals. I think I'm going to challenge you a little bit more, right? Because I think you have the potential to maybe close 30 transactions a year versus just 12 or 15. But it's all a part of being that in a winning culture, being held accountable, and ultimately being open-minded and coachable, and actually picking up, like you said, that tool belt and picking up the tools and getting to work, right? Because nobody can do that for you. You have to be able to have the mental discipline to be able to do that yourself.
That's why some mechanics are better than others, because they all use the same tools for the most part. Some just know how to use them better, or some actually use them.
Exactly.
You get me? You can have as many tools in your toolbox as you want. If you're not using them properly, you're not gonna do anything right. So yeah, man. Any final thoughts? What do you have to say? I mean, we did mention that you know, you plan on growing your team to about 10 agents. You're at 3 beside yourself now. Do you mean 10 with you, 10 without you?
Yeah, 10 with myself. So 10 with myself, because I think at that point, you know, so again, that's kind of the future of where I want to get it to. I want to get it to the point where it's about 10 of us, because I think it'll still kind of keep a close group, but of high performing individuals.
At 10 agents, you're gonna need more than just Jennifer.
Oh yeah, Jennifer. So we'll definitely, at that point, we'll definitely have an additional staff member for
advice?
Sure. Yeah.
Don't interview whoever she hires. Let her take care of it, dude. She's awesome. I'm sure she'll take care of that pretty well.
Yeah, she's very stern too, so she'll tell me straight up.
Nah, she'll go and get me. Like I'll be in there. She'll, hey, come here. Like, what happened? I'm like, damn, all right. Nah, she's a.
No, that's good, man. Yeah, so that's kind of what's next, man. So just kind of some final thoughts. You know, you know, if you're already in the industry and you've been doing it, say, for less than 2 or 3 years, and you're not quite producing at the level that you'd like to be producing, see if we're a good fit for each other. Reach out to me or reach out to you or somebody on our team. See if we might be a good fit for each other. See if what we have and what we have to offer might be of you know, benefit to you, right? But yeah, value. So again, I think, you know, within the next 24 months, be at 10 top producing agents. And hopefully by that point, I think we should be probably top team in the county at least.
Heck yeah, man.
So that's the plan, man.
That's the plan. That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah.
So if anyone wants to find Nelson, you can find him at I am Nelson Cantù on Instagram. Your team page is Nelson Cantù and Associates.
Yep.
And what's your phone number, man?
Yeah. So my number is 661-903-6655. But I mean, any means. I mean, a DM. I mean, those are probably what's most common nowadays. Or send me a text message. Just reach out to me and we can grab a coffee or grab some lunch, and we'll see, you know, what we have to offer. See what you're looking for, right? Because at the same time, we got to make sure that our goals kind of align with each other at the same time as well.
Yeah,
right?
There's no sense in being in a team. It's like being in a relationship. You can't be in a relationship with.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah, you can't be in a relationship with someone
It's
that
a
you're
two-way
not.
street.
100%.
Yeah.
So, all right, it was great having you, man, and well, till next time.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.